Welcome, everyone. Another big win for the Detroit Lions as they go into Indianapolis and take down the Colts. I am Spencer Axter. He is Easy. We're the Woodward Heavyweights. You guys know Herman Moore and CZ. We are Lions Nation Unite. Appreciate you for joining us. Big win. A lot to talk about. But first, how you guys doing? How you feeling after that win? It was nice that it wasn't a blowout. We sweated out a little bit, but it was still comfortable enough.
It's still a blowout, ain't it? I mean, it's crazy how good this team is because you win 24-6, and that's a close game for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, the feeling of it, at least. I mean, that was crazy. Just to have that feeling. I really had that feeling as a Detroit Lions fan. I just real quick. I know it's going to have its own separate topic. I just want to be first to say shout out to Aaron Glenn and that defense, man. A lot of people, you got a lot of hate, for the past couple of years, and he finally got some pieces he could work with, and guys got cohesiveness in the backfield too, and now you're starting to see the work. And I understand it was against Mac Jones. I understand today was against Anthony Richardson, but you just saw Bryce Young and the Panthers take the Kansas City Chiefs in the closing seconds of that game. You got to take the hat off, at this league to do what he did. 10 consecutive quarters without a touchdown.
Yeah. So, what are you smiling at, Herman?
Oh no, I'm nothing. Go ahead, please. By all means.
No. First of all, it was nice to see Sonic and Knuckles doing well. Too many injuries for my liking, obviously. And then the other thing that I thought was noteworthy and hilarious was that all their graphics are like, this is the only time since 1930 that this has happened. We're showing the graphics from the 1930s, and we're introducing us to that team. So a lot of history being made this year, which is pretty awesome.
I if I had to add anything to it, first, always, I like to come in and say what up to everybody. I appreciate everyone jumping on the stream and jumping on, taking time out. We always like to acknowledge our people for coming in. Thank you. We appreciate it. I was mixed a little bit on it. I thought offensively, the team was a little flat early on. Yes, Indianapolis, as we've seen with some of these other teams, they seem to have figured out how to stack the line, how to bring certain pressure, how to, kind of really plug up some of those gaps on the offensive line and make them have to figure it out versus just marching straight down the field and have their way. But I'm still really concerned. And although the defense played well, we'll get into the deeper parts of it because you got to peel back the layers. How much of it was the defense actually stopped Indy in the red zone, and how much of that was Indy stopping themselves? And I can point to 3 plays that changes the look and the closeness of the game. Spence, I know when you first talked about, how you play, giving kudos, we're giving shout outs to Aaron Glenn, and then also with you, Easy, as far as, acknowledging some of the things they're doing. It was if the score was technically not considered a blowout, when that's a pretty good win, it's a lot closer than what I think it appeared. So that's just me. We'll get into that. But again, shout out to everyone. At the end of the day, a win is a win is a win is a win. Don't care. So I'm going to take that every day.
And that's all it is. A win is a win is a win. You were down a bunch of guys, and you still got the job done. And like you said, shout out to everybody in the chat. Smash the like button. Make sure you subscribe to Lions Nation Unite. Super Bowl Wilson, Lisa, Jay Cruzen, Mile Marker, Juices Ghost, Doughboy Steve, E-Fog, PK, everybody in the chat. We appreciate you tapping in. We're going to get into your comments, and we're going to take a lot of your questions going throughout the show. But first things first. CZ, Herman, you guys got the merch on. You're wearing the hoodies, and we saw it. Sonic and Knuckles take advantage of this defense. By the way, go to Lions Nation Night Twitter, follow the steps. You could win a Sonic and Knuckles shirt for free because they both scored touchdowns in this game. Tell them about the merch, what we got going before we get into the game for sure.
Yeah, so super excited about the merch. So we've got them in their white, black, and blue jerseys. Very, very awesome. My favorite part that actually you don't see is I love the Lions Nation Unite in the video game text on the back. That's actually my favorite part. Right now we have 10% off using LNU Fam. I'll actually put up the banner until 10 o'clock. So this is just for our people that are here in the chat with us. So I wanted you guys to get 10% off, but I'm really excited. And we will have more designs coming out pretty soon. So get ready for all that. And Herman had some nice videos showcasing the blankets and stuff as well, which look pretty sweet.
Yeah. And this style and flair, I'm just telling you, it's pretty cool. I'm excited. She's giving you a little bit of what happened here, but she got with our design team, got with her a couple of guys that she has on our team that she oversees for design work. They came up with a theme. We're going to be putting quite a few of these together. As you can imagine, we're not done with just these two. There are a lot more of the players that are really getting it. We know this is a team sport, but we know there are some fan favorites, and we want to make sure that we jump in on that and make sure we supply you with some nice LNU gear, inspired gear. So again, that's it on that end. So what we got next, fellas? Young lady, what do we want to hit next? Because I'm ready to dive in and go deep with this one. Let's go.
One thing real quick I want to say, Herman, that I think is so interesting is the whole idea about the Colts beating themselves and how we keep having these conversations every week. That was always what the teams were saying about the Lions and what the Lions were saying about themselves, the fans. We beat ourselves. We would have been better if we would have just not made mistakes. We could have won. So what's the difference, and how many truly elite teams that play to their caliber every week actually are out there? Or is this what typically happens in the NFL? We're just actually on the other side of it right now.
That's where I wanted to get into a deeper discussion, a deeper dive with this. And I would love for everyone to continue to throw your comments in, give feedback on anything that we're saying, even ask your questions. But we talk about what makes a team different in terms of style, talent, discipline, all these things. I see this Lions team as being a more disciplined team. If you look at where the penalties that were committed by the Colts versus what was committed by the Lions, when they were both having not a struggling a drought scoring, but the game was close. That was really the difference. Some had to go with touchdowns. Lions end up with touchdowns. They end up with field goals, right? And then when you look deeper into this team, and you look in deeper in what's happening, the teams that are going to be playing consistent football, understand you're not going to get those takeaways that we're kind of accustomed to seeing our safeties come up with. We're not going to. We've gotten spoiled and not seeing close football games where, you don't feel kind of at fear that this is going to be over with, but you think that this team still needs to pull away from this team, and they're not. So you get a little concerned. I just think that there are still some holes here that will get exposed, and we can get to it when we get, like I said, from the line. I thought did a much better job defensively. The secondary, I think, still struggles on the man-to-man coverage. I think there's exposure against the play action. I think offensively, teams really have figured out how to come after our running game, but I think our running backs and their effort is what's getting those extra yards. If you look at the initial contact where they're getting hit to where they're breaking tackles and making things happen, that's really the athleticism, the ability of the running back, more so than the defense was right. They just couldn't make the tackle. All right. And then again, trying to figure out St. Brown, Gibbs, there's a classic play, and I'll be in on this, where you look at Jared Goff, they play levels offensively. Teams are going to figure out that they play the middle of the field. They don't hit a lot on the outside. So are the Lions setting teams up for the postseason, or that's going to be their bread and butter, their live and die? That's all I got from it. And it's pretty predictable when I look at it from that sense.
Yeah, and one thing I look at that has been consistent throughout these past couple games, we know it's Mac Jones, we know it's Rudolph, and now it's Anthony Richardson here. This is 10 straight quarters that Aaron Glenn and this defense have not allowed an opposing offense to score a touchdown. In the NFL, in the National Football League, where you have some of the greatest athletes in the world, highly tuned offenses, a league built for offensive football, 10 straight quarters without a touchdown allowed, missing your MVP in Aiden Hutchinson, missing in this game your captain and Alex Anzalone, both starting cornerbacks go down in this game, and it's still 10 straight quarters without a touchdown allowed. Aaron Glenn, hats off to you. He is the best coordinator in the NFL. It's crazy what he's doing with this team.
I have a feeling I know what Herman's getting.
Some Kool-Aid.
No, I'm gonna go ahead. Finish what you're doing.
No, I'm spinny. Like, and I get it. I'll put you this way. I get. Obviously, I said what I had to say about Aaron Glenn, and that's truly how I feel. I do see where Herman's coming from, though. When you got a situation where there was a seam ball dropped by that tight end, there's a touchdown drop by another tight end. But just the where I can counter that though is you also had your backup cornerback out there. You also missed like your starting linebacker. Those guys will be back. Obviously, knock on wood, come playoff time. You know what I'm saying? So I still think we provide efficient enough defense. You know what I'm saying, even with some key guys missing too. Not just any guys. It's Alex Anzalone. It's your starting corner all year, Terran Arnold. It's your starting defensive end, and Aiden Hutchinson. Like you miss some key guys, you're still producing. And you know what? Give them that touchdown. We're still up by double digits with a W in this one. You know.
So I feel like I need the Price is Right. You lost like tune to come in for you, just like like you're just gonna come in and be that guy. Go ahead.
All right, so Easy's kind of hit it. So Spence, I'm telling you, man, I was coming for you. I was gonna, and not so much for the reason that people think it is not to attack the team. Like, think about this: if you have areas that are weak or areas that have exposure, you don't hide behind them. You just acknowledge them. Like they're broke. There's some issues with what they have in terms of how they play man. I'm just telling you, there's issues. I don't care if they're playing. Put Terran Arnold back out there. I don't think you're going okay. One is a liability potentially against pass interference because of the fact that they're young, not because he's not a good player. Not that he won't eventually turn in. Look at Darius Slay turn into a shutdown All-Pro, Pro Bowl cornerback. Terran Arnold, his book and chapter is yet to be written. I'm not even worried about him. That he's going to get better. But defensively, when you have to replace someone and teams go, we're going after that guy, it's a problem. So here's what we had. Indianapolis goes down. They have an opportunity. Instead of going up 7-0, they go up 3-0. Okay. Yeah. Defense didn't stop them. Indy stopped themselves. They basically had 1st and goal at the 1 yard line. And, from there, what happens, right? You get a holding penalty that goes back. You don't recover. We know how that works in the red zone. It's too tough. They're not a team that can just attack you that way. Tight end goes in. You don't get an opportunity where Richardson's going to throw passes like he threw, and you can see his inaccuracies as a quarterback. But ultimately, when he did have shots, whether it's big plays where he missed open players, who definitely got behind the defense, to where there were players who had opportunities where the ball was just past their fingertips. That could have been big plays that would have led to potentially field goals, right? Then you get down to the tight end. He drops the ball. That's a touchdown. He drops it. So the defense didn't stop him. And that's the part I was going to say, listen, okay, I get it. Kept him out the end zone. No, they had miscues. Okay, they got there. And it wasn't about what the defense did.
But there's no moral victories. All that matters is if you pull out the W.
I get that. All I'm saying is when we talk about fixing something, they can't fix another team who has a competent quarterback and a receiver that will catch those passes and a line that will be disciplined and not hold when they didn't even have to hold down inside of the red zone, inside of the 10. And so all I'm saying is that those are things when I'm looking at as I'm a coach, you have to clean those things up. That's an exposure piece. Kudos again. No problem. I give them all the credit because ultimately you're coming away with the win. You're doing what you're supposed to do. I think Aaron Glenn, it's going to be tough to hold on to him. I think Ben Johnson, it's going to be hard to keep him. Maybe you can keep him for another year or so, but that's it. They're gone. So that's all. No pessimism. Listen, no pessimism. No beating down. But that's like saying, hey, man, it looks like if you don't go get that scar or whatever taken care of, it's going to get infected and it's going to turn in. You'll end up losing your arm. That's all I'm saying. You got, I'm not ignoring it.
Okay, but if I hold on, Herman, hold on. You're the king of debate. The king of debate, right? You like to pride yourself on the ability to debate, right? Argue against yourself right now. That'll show your ability to actually debate.
It's going to be hard to do it because I'm coming from a place where when you're in the locker room and these things happen, the first thing you don't do is beat your chest. You go, great win. We came away. We did what we were supposed to do. That's about as good as it's going to get for you. I don't care if you're the MVP. I don't care if America's going, hey, you know what? That guy or that team or whatever is the greatest thing since sliced bread. The coach is going to go, you know what? We got a lot of work to do. We got some things we got to clean up if we're ultimately going to go to this place of destination that requires excellence.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right. There it is. Right. When you require excellence, you don't make excuses for when you win. Just because you win doesn't mean you necessarily did what you were supposed to accomplish. That means you continue to play on another day.
Yeah.
But that's it. That's it.
And
this
shout
team,
out to
team is different, man.
I didn't
only
really
thing-
want to
the
put
only
that
thing I'd
comment
say-
up, by the way, but I didn't reluctantly.
What? I missed
That
it.
you
What
were
did you say?
speaking the truth. I didn't really want to put it up there, but
Oh.
Yeah, no, shout out to everybody in the chat. PK, Arf, Aaron Mays, Corey Patterson, Dale, Aquaman, EFOG, everybody in the chat. We appreciate it. PK JR says, I agree. This week is a really good game for shining light on our defects. And this is one thing that I like. We're talking about defects. We're talking about these lapses in coverage for a team that hasn't allowed a touchdown in 10 quarters. Like at some point it goes from lucky misses to, okay, they're doing something. And if you told me, if anybody told me that the Lions defense would be top 5 in the NFL this year without Aiden Hutchinson, I would tell you you're crazy. And they're making up for it. We saw Malcolm Rodriguez comes in, has 8 tackles, a huge tackle for loss. Kendall not going to talk about Kendall Viller. We got the dub, all right? We got the win, but on top of just continuously winning battles, your guys that are going to be your guys that are still there, like Alim McNeill and Josh Paschal and Brian Branch, stepped up and made plays when you needed them to.
The only thing I'd say against Herman's comments too is like some plays, they're genuine flags, and you gotta give it to the defensive effort. Like there was one play where Josh Paschal split that double team, and my man had no choice but to tackle him, stop him from pursuing like Anthony Richardson. The pick play, like those are genuine penalties versus like bonehead mistakes. You know what I'm saying? And you gotta give the defense a little bit of credit. And not every play was a penalty. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes, like some of us were just making plays, but there absolutely was a drop touchdown. I won't ignore that one. And I won't ignore that dropped one up the seam. And then they shoot themselves in the foot. But come on, now. We gotta give this defense some credit. They're missing a lot of people here.
Hey, listen, let's go back. I want everybody, if you coming for me, come for me, because I love it. Because here's the thing, and that's what makes it real about this. I love about this, right? So it's not so much a critic as much as I'm critiquing. It's a difference.
Yes,
it's critiquing. Like I'm giving you what I see as a film study. This is what I'm telling you. They're going to go in and they're going to look and say, listen, see this guy. When you see your man up on the left side, all of a sudden receivers running right at you. You have no other threat that you have to worry about, and the guy gets behind you by 5 yards, right? And this isn't. We're not talking about a Tyreek Hill. We're not talking about someone that you shouldn't be. That is your guy. Like this is a breakdown, and it is the detail in this sport that makes the difference. And for those who say, "Oh, let's not just let them get away with these," no, I'm not saying they didn't do a good job. What I'm saying is they have to be conscious and they have to improve on these areas, because teams are going to want to pull those down. We can be blue sky all day because we're in the Kool-Aid. We can be blue sky all day. Listen, I love this team. I'm telling you, this is the most excited I've ever been. I surely hope, and even if they give me a fake Super Bowl ring, if they go and win and they just give me one of those plastic ones, like I can get out of a gumball machine, I'm cool with that. I want them to be their best. But the thing I don't want is to where you become so drunk on the win that you don't realize when you get into the playoffs, it's one and done. It's cleaning up those little small things that make the difference. We saw that last year in the playoffs. They were less than a quarter away from a Super Bowl. Right? That's it. All the other stuff doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Is this their version of playing to their opponent?
No, I don't think they played to their opponent. I just think I think Indianapolis was a good test for them on the road. I think it was a good game where the offense didn't come out and blow people out of the water. But I think that this is an opportunity for this team to say, listen, yes, we got the win, but we're going to face teams that are better than Indianapolis as we get down the line. You look at if I go rank Indianapolis based on the last 6 games that they have right now, where would you rank Indy against those teams? Would you say Indy's better than any of those teams? Would you say Indy is a better challenge?
Here, Herman, answer this one. Or hold on. Here, answer this one, because I know you'll want to answer that one.
Oh yeah. So nutshell, because I want to make sure I don't steal this platform and this board. So we're in a thing right now. I'm gonna tell you right now. One, you're gonna break yourself down individually. You start with your individual assignment. You got to grade out. You're gonna find out every single play you were on the field. How did you score? You either won or you lost. You either right or you were wrong. There's no gray. The next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna look at it as a unit, and then you're gonna look and say, okay, how did we play as a unit? Did we line up properly? You know, did we feed off of one another? Was I on the right side, not just blocking this guy, but did I block him to where I shielded him on the outside so that the corner, Jahmyr Gibbs or someone, or the running back could get on the outside edge, or Montgomery could get on the outside edge? Or was I not squared up right? It's detail. I'm telling you, you think it's like we have it easy watching it on TV and just chilling. But when they go back, you're graded individually. You're graded by your effort. You even graded by how fast were you running to go get that guy that you were blocking. Think about that. See, no one's looking at it. I'm looking at that guy. Did he come off the ball like it was a pass versus just jogging off like a run? Everyone grades out differently. And just because you didn't get the ball, you don't get a check because the pass was complete. You'll get a bad grade because of lack of effort.
Yeah.
You feel me? So that's all I'm saying.
And speaking of getting checks, a guy who got a check earlier in the season, literally, and a guy who gets a check on this game, Alim McNeill, he got his bag, he re-signed, and he was there in the middle of that defense, causing havoc, blowing plays up, getting those penalties, drawing holding calls, breaking through double teams, getting pressure on Anthony Richardson. Easy, we'll go to you first, and then to Herman. What did Alim McNeill do in this game?
Brother, I've been waiting for this game the entire season. Because, I mean, you and I, we've been on the Alim train, right? Like, it started off, he was a young kid getting double teamed, wasn't really showing nothing. Then he lost a ton of weight, trying to work out his pass rush. And today, you saw that out of him. I mean, I'm talking about just dominant reps. And shout out to just, I guess, Tyrell Williams, the defensive line coach, and Brad Holmes for acquiring DJ Reader for commanding double teams alongside Alim McNeill so he could take those one-on-one matchups. There's one point. Quentin Nelson, who was an all-pro, former all-pro, Pro Bowl guard, and Alim McNeill just takes him and like a grown-ass man against like an eighth grader, just throws him down off of him, and then goes after pursuit of Anthony Richardson, and he forced Anthony Richardson to throw a crappy ball. And I just been waiting for that type of performance out of Alim McNeill. I know a lot of the stat heads who are looking for sacks and stuff like that aren't giving love off of that, but me, as a former defensive tackle or just a heavyweight in itself, I enjoy watching the big guys down there get nasty with it, and he did today, and I love that. But I can't wait to go back and watch this film today. He was all over those guards, and he was giving them fits. I mean, he was again, going back to them throwing the penalties, right? There's one where he busted through, and my man had no choice but to grab his face. He's like, come on, you know what I'm saying? Like, but he was just that disruptive that they had to, you know what I'm saying, get dirty to just try to slow him down. And he was a man amongst boys out there. I won't say that, actually, a little bit disrespectful. But he had a good game.
Yeah, if I had to push on Alim McNeill, what I love is the fact that he had pressure. I know we saw a few places in the comment, that there's we're still needing to have a little bit more pressure on the pass rush. I thought the pressure was there today, actually. I don't think the quarterback had an opportunity to get settled. The only concern I have is quarterback containment, especially when they're mobile. We seem to still have a fit. We have some quarterbacks that are coming up. They can all run. They can all escape the pocket. They're not going to be stationary quarterbacks. And it seems that we struggle a little bit with that defensively. However, I will say this, the pressure up front and the pressure up the middle, especially over the guards by McNeil, I thought we did some really good, from the outside in terms of playing that wide 9 technique or that wide end. Smith started to actually get in and have some pressures early on, and there were some spotty plays in there where he also got some pressure and they collapsed the pocket. But again, I just think that there's still something that seems to be missing. I'm just saying, I can't. It's hard to place it until you go play by play. Yeah, I know. It's not that. I'm just saying. Listen, you know what? No, it is. All right, real talk.
I gotta weigh in somehow.
No, real talk. But here, I'm gonna tell you where I'm at with this. Right after last year, and they were so close to the Super Bowl, I'm like, man, I don't want anything to go wrong. I really think this team can get it done. I mean, it is lining up properly. So if I'm anything, maybe I'm paranoid, right? Maybe I'm like the one that doesn't want to sit back and go, man, we just cannot take our foot off the pedal at all. And we have to keep going after it because they are there, man. This is one of the best, if not the best team in the NFL. And I'd hate to see any small detail get missed at this point after they're at a 10-1 season. 10-1. You know what I mean? That's what you're hearing from me. So anyone thinks it's critical, yeah, I'll be critical all day because I don't want people to ever get comfortable thinking that they've made it yet because it's still a lot of season left to be done.
And easy, I'll say I've always loved watching defensive line play. So that's actually my favorite group. So I would study under Coach Marinelli. He'd explain all the different techniques and all that. So yeah,
those big uglies in the middle, man.
Yeah,
Gunther was there when you were there too, wasn't he?
I love Gunther. Yes, he always used to come up and he would pride me on knowing what I was talking about, and he'd get all excited. And every time I would go to talk to him, because I talked to each of the coordinators on my own, and he'd always forget, and so he'd just be like, "Oh, damn, that's today." I mean, truly a one of a kind. I mean, he was just an awesome, like the stories he would tell, and then he would do the thing where he would give the dialogue, and it would take 20 minutes to tell a story that in actual reality the moment took a minute. And he'd be like, and then he said, "Okay," and then I said, "Go out there and give it your best," and he said, "I will." And then he had 2.5 sacks. The rest was
I'll never forget. He was wearing a
fabulous
blue shirt.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, it's his jersey, coach.
Yeah. This is something I like to see here, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on this one. From Ian, he says Tim Patrick had a lot of impact on the offense today, and obviously we'll start with Herman's reaction on it from the wide receiver himself. Tim Patrick, a guy that got a lot of slack from Lions fans when we signed him. Me and Easy on the Woodward Heavyweights, we couldn't understand why he was taking so much slack from these guys. In this game, 4 catches, 55 yards, big spots too, big third downs, keeping the chains moving in that Josh Reynolds-esque role. What did you guys see out of Tim Patrick in this one?
I mean, if you want, I can start with that. You know, I don't think we have the same. They're not utilizing him or depending on him as much as they did with Josh Reynolds. I think the role has changed. I think the role in which Ben Johnson utilizes his players in this offensive set is not as we've seen in the traditional past, where you have the deep threat wide receiver and they're always running the deep routes, the clear out routes. Jameson Williams would be that guy that's doing that. But what they have him in is doing these crossing routes. He's not the biggest of guys. He's taller than what he appears. But then when you all of a sudden you got Tim Patrick coming in, he's a big guy that you can see. You have Laporta coming in, and he's running a layer. And then you got St. Brown, who's doing his crafty work. I mean, I looked at it a few times a day, and I'm looking at what Jared Goff's get to see whenever that pocket is nice and solid. I mean, you can see those distinctive levels, and you can see the distinctive players, and it makes it such a nice read from tackle to tackle. And Jared Goff doesn't have to look far and wide. So Tim, with Patrick, I think he's a big body guy. He's given them some when they've decided to double up St. Brown or Williams. It's giving him an outlet and dependable receiver to go to. So that's what I saw was kudos to him for 4 attempts thrown at him. He caught all 4. A couple big plays on down and distance. So yeah, it was a good day.
Yeah, man. It's like we talked about it this week because there was a national analyst who called Jared Goff a civilian. And a lot of Detroit Lions fans, they don't like that. Even more than Detroit Lions fans, honestly, because Jared Goff's having a phenomenal season. And I get it. It's from a certain standpoint. Like, he's not going to, although he had a couple of them on the run today, even one across the chest to Tim Patrick. That was beautiful. But he don't really have like a superpower per se out there on the field. But what Brad Holmes has done through the draft, through free agency, just through picking up guys so they get caught like a Tim Patrick, is he's surrounded them with pieces that can then do something with the ball afterward. I think Tim Patrick is that another piece he went and grabbed. Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon St. Brown, Jameson Williams. Like, the way I put it on the heavyweights is like, you don't need a Superman when you have Batman. And the cliche is, as Spinning can attest to, because he's a big Batman fan, nobody beats Batman with prep time. And that prep time is coming from Ben Johnson. And so he has everything he needs to win. You don't have to go out there and, have a 40-yard run like Patrick Mahomes did today, or whip that thing down there 40 yards like a Josh Allen kid, because he has everything else around him to ball. There you go. And independent Aquaman. He's Aquaman. He's got the fishes helping him.
I was just ready to say, hey, listen, man, I saw on South Park, not South Park, it's Family Guy. And the one thing, I guess some people were having problems on the beach, like someone had an accident or whatever, and Aquaman was in the water. And he was in there with the fish and the dolphins or whatever. And all of a sudden the person needed help, and he couldn't come help him because he was in the water. Like, and they were like, and then Robin, they had one, they did Robin, and he was supposed to help someone, but he didn't have Batman tools. So they were like, he was like, he had a cell phone, but then he had a cell phone, but he didn't have range. Like he only had like 2 bars or 1 bar or no. Just saying, your boy's always going to have something. Like, I'm not going to debate you on the Batman and Robins and all that. I want some Hawks and I want some Thors. I want some Superman, but all I want at the end of it, I want them to be the Legion of Justice. I want to be all for one for all, playing together like they're doing, and I'll roll with it. You can bring in all the ones you got, and they all got these little powers, right?
Isn't it kind of the difference though between a guy that can kind of change the game on his own, or the guy that's just flat out consistent and will just be like the Kurt Warner, like the guy that's just going to go out there and just get it done?
Tom Brady was that. You know what I'm saying? Like Tom Brady, you watch the highlights, although they came every once in a while, I feel like, as he got older, but like he was never running on the field. I'm saying he didn't have the highlights like Josh Allen, those guys, but he just made the right play. That's what we got right now with JG. We got Aquaman, and I'm fine with it. Goff, Aquaman, and Robin with no Batman. Harsh.
Now, y'all better attribute that to somebody, because
they're gonna hate it out there. They're gonna say it's easy.
They're telling me
I just gave him praise. I called Jared Goff Aquaman. I never did that. And I never sat there and said somebody else was Robin. Listen, man, I said
he was just telling Family Guy stories.
I was telling a Family Guy story. So I don't want anybody sitting there saying, I did all that stuff.
Headline tomorrow: Moore calls Jared Goff Robin. We'll look for our Google alerts.
Speaking of superheroes and people who make crazy things happen, Sonic and Knuckles, you guys got the hoodies on. The merch is up at Lions Nation Unite. There is a giveaway on our Twitter right now. If you go there, you can get in there, and you could use LNU FAM for 10% off on LionsNationUnite.com for any merch you want to grab. But Sonic and Knuckles, this team is undefeated when they both get into the end zone. They got into the end zone in the first half. These guys are just, it's unstoppable.
The Wonder Twins, the Justice League, or League of Justice.
Herm, which one's your favorite jersey that they have on, Herm? Which one's your favorite jersey?
You know what? I really like, I'm not a big fan. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not a big fan of the all white. I saw all white with the blue shoes, and the blue gloves. Okay, he's got a little bit there. I don't know. It's just something about that one. I like the black uniforms with the blue helmets, and then either black or blue shoes. I rock with that. But I like all the styles, especially when they're coming from our team. So
okay, so our girl D, she's saying you're getting a lot of flack or heat today. I want to say he's been waiting for this. Like, I think he really wants to get it, and he's been like waiting to be able to really get into a conversation, right, Herm?
What about Chewbacca? I can't. Hey, listen, I'm sitting here. First of all, if you need to break me down, you need to know who I am, and I don't know if many of you gonna hang out with me or not. Star Wars fan, cool. I got it. Chewbacca, we can figure out who's Chewbacca. But listen, I'm a Dave Chappelle fan, so that is gonna tell you a lot about my humor, and that, I got some my humor. I'm gonna keep it to myself because it's kind of there, right?
We're not hunting people.
And I like to make fun of the superheroes and stuff, man, because if someone were to call you, like if I start calling some of you like Ant-Man or something like that, instead of something, you can be like, you just get these powers where you get bigger, or the guy that's the Wasp, he gets to fly around. What does he do? And they call these people superhero. Everybody's not a superhero. Doesn't work that way. Some people just part of the team. They participate in superhero activities. Remember I told you that before? Everyone wants to go, oh, that guy's an athlete because they're in the NFL. No, he's a spot filler. Sometimes you just don't always have the best people, and the guys that didn't make it, sometimes they had problems and they couldn't get out of the college scene, or they didn't have it right in the high school level, and a lot of the great people who could have gone on to the collegiate level didn't make it because they didn't have that piece. The people who made it are those that understood the process through and through. They understood the rules to the game of getting to the NFL, and they worked it all the way through. Now the people that are there are on the team. The people on the team, they have a role to do. It's not to go out there and score 70% accuracy when you grade out. If you're not in the 90 percentile on your grades, come on, man.
Whatever, easy. And we're talking about Star Wars. Her name is Leia, so we have some Star. Whatever.
Oh, that's why she jumped.
Chrissy's got. She's like what is that? The guy, the Steve guy, man, Irwin, right? She's like pet tamer or something over there, man. They just be all over the place.
Door on my office is the problem.
I'm just saying. All I know is this. Listen, anyone out there that wants to accept average, mediocrity, and basic, then that's fine. I want to be with those that expect, and they're going for excellence. They're going to always look at ways in which they get better every single week. I don't care if it's a win. They're going to be their harshest critic.
Yeah,
I thought every pass that came my way, I should have caught. So therefore, I dropped a lot of passes because every time it touched my hand, it doesn't matter if that guy was passing interference. It doesn't matter if it was a little high, a little outside of me, a little wide. You know, that's my rule. That's my rule to myself. So I know this team excels on excellence. They excel, and you have a coach that is forgiving as long as you give it your all. And I know the guys are giving their all. So I'm not being critical of that. Okay. I'm being critical of the fact that there's a guy that's running open 5 yards behind my defensive back. And if I had another quarterback, and no one in here is saying Richardson is going to the Pro Bowl or that he's setting the league on fire. Okay. So a competent, another quarterback is going to find those guys. Period. Yeah. Clean up. I'm not saying the team 10-1. What is there to argue about 10-1?
I just appreciate the superhero conversation that's going on in the chat right now. I think it's
we need some.
I love the superhero. We can go there. And they told me about the Family Guy. Yes, I love Family Guy. I used to do South Park, but they started getting a little cheesy after like season 23 or something like that. So I was like, yeah.
I love Family Guy.
Can we get some golf Batman shirts?
I'm a big South Park guy.
Yeah, that's right. They mess with no Robins.
Yeah. And shout out to Aquaman, Juice's Ghost, Dookie Pickles, Efog, Stephen David, Dina, everybody that's dropping comments in here. And when you look at Goff, I think at the very least this year, there are 3 superheroes you could compare him to. And you got Batman, you got Iron Man, and you got Mr. Fantastic, because he's got to be smart to run this scheme. He has to know everything, where they're going to be, what's going to happen, the play calls, where his receivers want the ball, and he has been nothing but a genius in this Ben Johnson system. Herman, what is it like when you have a quarterback who knows what you want to do as a receiver? Him and Amon-Ra St. Brown, you don't go 30 for 30 just by chance. You do that because you are on a different level of feel together.
For one, I'm going to answer that, but I'm going to tell you what, we may have to do a whole superheroes session. We'll come back one day and we'll be all just superhero happy on this one. But you know what?
We'll have to come
when you can have the rapport that a receiver, especially like St. Brown and Jared Goff have, and you don't have to speak. And if you look at when he stares him down, he knows the defense knows that he's staring him down. He still knows my guy's going to win on that play. And if you look at the confidence in the way in which Jared Goff throws his passes and where he throws it, and I love the fact that he's not taking chances. He's throwing the ball away. He's not being reckless with it. If he doesn't have a guy, he's throwing it away, right? And that goes a long way, because there's going to be times where you have hurry up offenses, or when you get some things where the plays is really screwed up, the time's going, ticking, and you need to have that guy be on the same page with you. You don't have time to call this whole set. You just need him to win over here. And that's what I think you have with those two. So it's a good thing to see. I think it's only going to develop over time, because these two still young guys. They may get another 4 or 5 plus years together.
Mm. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. And Tony Stark is taking too much slander in the chat. Yeah, y'all got chill. Tony Stark, all right. You would act a little different if you were a billionaire playboy philanthropist too. Philanthropist. I messed that word up. I know, but
Han Solo.
Brad Holmes is Han Solo.
Okay, I mean, what do you think?
Brad Holmes is Emperor Palpatine.
I could be like Dave. I could be Dave Chappelle and say he's Lando.
Yes, he's Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah. I am the Senate. Like,
100%.
I think he's Lando. I don't see him that much. He just shows up every once in a while in different places.
Haven't you seen him screaming like in the elevator and everywhere? He screams everywhere.
Chris Spielman looking at him like he's crazy.
Action go down.
You know who he is?
On draft day. Not on draft day, man.
No, there's video. He screams all the time.
During the game.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That's internal, right? You're getting that online somewhere.
No, there are videos of him on the field walking out.
I'm saying on the broadcast.
Literally, Chris Spielman,
man, pull it up.
In the elevator looking at him like he's crazy. Like, what the hell is wrong with this man?
Somebody find a link on the broadcast. I'm gonna tell you, when I'm watching on my TV,
I will screen share
or Fox or wherever, I see them panning to the sideline. I see Dan Campbell, and I see Aaron Glenn, and I see Ben Johnson.
Not
and the
game
players.
tape. Like
I said, game tape, man. I don't care about the off the field B-roll. Anybody can get that. Y'all can get you. I can show me eating breakfast all day and run around, hit my remote on my key and be like, man, he's really excited about hitting his key.
So if you don't see it, it didn't happen.
His key fob. No, I'm just saying. Listen, that's
where do you see Emperor Palpatine? He's
everybody.
the strings,
everybody has seen when you if we wanted to, I get my own theme music and somebody walking around playing theme music behind me with a camera and follow me everywhere, and I could just be everywhere doing things. No, I'm talking about. We were talking about the superheroes. And first of all, we talking Star Wars. There ain't no superheroes in Star Wars.
He's a villain. He's the villain. He's got the hoodie. He's got Brad Holmes, a villain.
That's fair.
Man, y'all starting to mess up the team now. Y'all throwing just crazy villains and
he's Nick Fury. He's the one that got the team together.
Like, I thought, man, y'all just letting anybody into the kingdom, man. Y'all letting people infiltrate the Justice League. Man, we're gonna let people from Star Wars come in, and we're gonna let Lando Calrissian and Chewbacca.
Dan Campbell is not Darth Vader. He's way too happy.
No, Dan Campbell is Darth Vader because he's the chosen one. Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker, they're the chosen one. They bring balance to the Force. Dan Campbell brought balance to the Detroit Lions. I'm here for it. I love Darth Vader.
Hold on.
I have to think that.
Hey, Chris, here's one for you guys right here. Look, that one right there. Hold on, where'd it go?
What?
Oh man, somebody's hitting my thing. There it is, right there.
Yeah. So, all right, to get it back on the rails.
Hey, Darth Vader threw for, let's see how many yards Darth Vader threw for, how many draft picks did Lando Calrissian get or whatever, right? That's what we're going to do. We're going to start doing that.
To bring it back on the rails, we've got another football game in what? 1, 2, 3, 4 days, 5 days on Thanksgiving. You get beat up a little bit and you have some injuries coming. What does Thanksgiving Day game in Detroit mean for these Lions players, Herman?
I'm gonna tell you right now, it means another game, and I love it. And here's why I say that. Thanksgiving used to be the biggest game. That used to be one you mark down on your calendar because no matter what the Lions were doing at that time, that was your Super Bowl. That was your big game of the year. That was the one the Lions owned. Well, no, Lions are owning national TV now. They're the ones you're trying to figure out if their game's going to get moved and if it's going to get flexed. They got to put to be determined beside whether or not they want the Lions to play a regular slot here, even if it's a 4:15 slot versus playing prime time. That's different. So it's just it's another game. If anything, you're looking at it going, I hope they play somebody good on Thanksgiving. That's it. I hope it's a good game. It's normal. I love it because it's not the biggest game anymore for me. It's not the biggest game for the Lions any longer. Thanksgiving has become part of the season. It's just part of the excitement for the Lion fan base, for the organization, for the players. It's another home game and a guaranteed sellout, which they already have had, but knowing that they're going to be sitting there. That's what I love. That's what I love about this. So Thanksgiving, when I played, it was just like a playoff game, man. It was always something that someone asked us about. Not now. I mean, how many of you even going to the play? How many of you even going?
Huh? Spenny's commenting as me in the comments.
Okay.
Wow. How'd you do that?
Saying what does Herman have in this Yeti cup?
No one said that.
No, speaking of which, Herman, they got beat up in this game, though. You saw Carlton Davis left with an injury. Montgomery, Taylor Decker both left with injuries. They came back in. How do you mentally prepare for another game? And I know you say it's just another game, but it's Thanksgiving in Detroit. That is football legacy, So how do you mentally prepare and physically prepare for a game 4 days after you just get into a slugfest?
Well, it's a short week.
Walk through
when you play on Thanksgiving, that is the other good thing. You already know that you got 4 days before your next game.
Yeah.
And you've already made plans on what's going to happen there. Players are going to get injured. This team, I think, believes in the depth and the preparation and the preparedness of the backup players or those that are playing behind them to step in for a period of time, whether it's for a play here, a series, or a game, and feel confident without disruption. Obviously, if you lose a quarterback like Goff or you get one of your running backs going down, it changes some things. But because they don't have it at that level, I think they're saying, listen, we can score points. So I don't think they're concerned. And I think this short week means, whoever's going to get back is going to get back, and those that aren't, they're going to move forward.
Who is Snarf?
Snarf. Come on, you know who Snarf is.
No clue who Snarf is.
Was it me?
From Thundercats?
Yeah, from Thundercats.
No clue. He must be a damn good Thundercat.
Are they somewhat in with He-Man? No.
No.
Bringing the thunder in. You Snarf cousin.
He-Man.
I think Thanksgiving is going to be a game, man. It always is. It feels like for the Detroit Lions. And last year, I think the Packers got kind of lucky in that way too. And I don't want to sound dismissive of the performance because they had a really good game, but we were missing a lot of our interior offensive line. So JG was under a lot of pressure. Obviously, we established he's Batman. He doesn't have the superpowers. He needs the people around him to help work. He had a couple of those fumbles, and this week, Decker got banged up today. David Montgomery got banged up today. Some of these defenders got banged up today. So we really got to keep it tight shit and just run it. I like to see the football run Thursday and just chew the clock up. That's my goal Thursday. Get out of there healthy.
Yeah, it's going to be a balanced game, though. I was looking at Chicago. I don't know how many of you had a chance to look at Chicago and the Vikings. And, it was a pretty tight game, but ultimately Chicago, they've had somewhat of a running attack, right? They haven't been that awful at running the football. They have receivers who can make plays. It's the quarterback position has been one that they've kind of looked back and forth and had a little bit of a struggle. But defensively, they seem to be coming together and playing a little bit better. It's like anything else. You see teams that play in the SEC or the Big Ten, when you're constantly playing teams especially in our NFC North, you're playing these teams twice. You're playing good football teams. And you're playing some of the best talent and some of the best teams in the NFL. Definitely, this is the best division this year. And I think with the Lions on Thanksgiving, if we go back and look at some of the quarterbacks they've had problems with, it's with teams that have the ability to throw the football and run the football, a balanced team. And I don't want to say this because I look at the DNA and I looked at the Lions defense today. The minute they knew that the running game was done, the passing, the pass rush and the pressure up front became more intense. It became because they were playing a predictable offense. The defense is going against a predictable offense. That's just like me saying, I know this team is in man coverage, or I know this team has got to stay in a zone coverage. We can attack them in a whole different way, and we can damage them a whole different way. That's what you're seeing with the defense. But when they have balance and they don't know what teams are going to throw at them, all I'm saying is there's a struggle. And I think the Bears are going to give them a little bit more push than what we saw today. But the Lions should be able to take care of the Bears. I really do. I really believe they should be able to walk away with a pretty convincing victory, even at home.
Is it kind of doing the thing like Dan Campbell was doing in his first season, kind of just throwing different things to throw teams off to try to gain an advantage?
You try and put some footage out there and film so that the opponent, and you want to see where they're weak, and you're taking plays that you've seen them get exposed to, and you're incorporating those either to the closest plays that you have, or you're putting wrinkles on the plays that you have. Once you get past the first 15 or 20 plays that you scripted, it's all over, in terms of how they play. So it's a tough one. Look at this cat.
Snarf.
Undercat.
That's good stuff. They asked about just a fan in the Woodward Sports chat. Shout out to in the YouTube chat. Sorry. Shout out to everybody. Just a fan. Jay Cruzen, Steve Wilds, Independent Aquaman, John Hughes, Juice's Ghost, Ian. Everybody commenting on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. They wanted the injury updates. Taylor Decker and David Montgomery both were either ready to or went back into the game. Carlton Davis was on the sideline on the bike. So I'm not trying to be a doctor here. I just pretend to play one on TV. If you tore something, you're probably not on the bike on the sideline. So that's a good sign for him. The one I'm actually worried about, though, is Khalif Raymond.
Was he negative for an ACL, or was that somebody that said somebody was negative for an ACL? I think it was Davis. No,
I hope so. Yeah, and that would make sense. Like I said, you're probably not on the bike if you tear something like that on the sideline. So the one I am worried about is Khalif Raymond. We'll see what happens with him going forward. But Herman, going back to Thanksgiving next week and the Bears coming into town, number 1 pick, Caleb Williams, who has played decent the past couple games. He's a rookie, so he's not going to look great. Do defensive coordinators, do defensive players, do they just salivate when they see a rookie quarterback coming into their house on a game and they just know they're gonna mess with his mental?
Yeah, I believe when you have a veteran guy and a coordinator like Aaron Glenn, and one that understands coverage, and just really because he was a man cover type guy and he played in defenses where he could roam, he could follow guys around, but they played back then. There's a lot of intricate covers that you play. There's a lot of show blitz. There's a lot of where you do stunts and you're doing all these different things to confuse them, to make them make line calls that really aren't there. And then when they're checking out of it and they don't realize defense has shifted. So I will expect to see them moving the safeties around a lot. I would see the Lions defensively in the secondary show a lot of coverages and then go into something else. And then I think they will bring pressure, because if you pressure the younger quarterbacks, you force them into thinking faster than they're prepared for at this early stage in their career. They haven't seen enough to be able to respond to all those things. So I'm going to bet on a coordinator like Aaron Glenn before I look at a rookie quarterback and think that necessarily that they're going to have a chance.
I'm glad to hear that, because we were talking about like what this defense looks like against the next level of quarterback, because you kept bringing it up, and I kept wondering too, like, where's Caleb fall? Because he's supposed to be the next level quarterback, but very much looks like the rookie version of it. So we won this one, hopefully.
What do you think, Corey Raymond? I know we looked at St. Brown in the comments. I saw also like Tim Monroe appreciated, talking about, if Raymond is out, we'll see more of Tim Patrick, but also we saw St. Brown returning some of the kicks. I mean, they start to look at how do you handle that scenario as well, because it was kind of odd to see him back there, and it, made me a little nervous. Yeah. Because anything can happen, whether intentionally or unintentionally. You put a lot of risk there, obviously, in the return game, but he was very smart in how he handled it.
If he's out, if they don't have somebody, wouldn't they probably go find somebody or
I think you would want to. Yeah. You want to. I just don't see him. I think he plugged that in because that wasn't scripted. You always have a backup person for the kick returns and punt returns. But I just know that he's not going to be the long-term solution back there, because that's too much to risk.
And Steve Wild said it was dumb to him to put Amon-Ra St. Brown, but no, that's what you have to do in this game, where if someone fumbles a punt, that can flip the entire game. So you put Amon-Ra St. Brown back there to make sure that he catches the ball. But going forward, he's not going to be that guy. We have Vaki, could possibly be a return man. A guy like Maurice Alexander that's done it before. He can be a huge guy. Isaiah Williams was picked up by the Bengals off waivers, so he's no longer on your team. But I think Dorsey is another one. I see Detroit Grit saying there he has some ability to work in that return game. So now, if I highly doubt Khalif Raymond will play Thursday against the Bears. So you're looking at guys like Dorsey, Maurice Alexander, and Vaki that are probably going to be in contention for that punt return role, which is big because Khalif Raymond was playing at a all-pro level punt returner. So that is big. We saw how effective those special teams can be in certain situations in different games. So you got to put somebody back there. I think it comes down to Dorsey, Alexander, and Vaki, whoever wins that in camp or in practice, not camp.
Quick question for you, right? Real quick on the edge rush. So right now we've had an opportunity to see Smith get in a couple times defensively, and good move. You like him, the pressure you're getting there. I mean, contribution to the defensive line and the depth in that set there and coming out. I mean, what's your take so far?
Yeah, I like it a lot. They've moved him around. They put him in different situations. He didn't get the sack in this game, but Anthony Richardson was doing a lot of quick passes early in the game. And then later in the game, they weren't rushing more than 4 guys. So you didn't see a lot of pressure on him. I'd still like to see him make that next step, but I don't think we're going to be getting a guy that's going to get 7 sacks in 7 games for the year out of Zadarius Smith. But those 3 or 4 sacks that he'll have will be in big situations coming down the stretch.
Now, when I said that, you was giving me some, you was giving me some.
Yeah, because you said 3.5 in 9 games.
Oh, I said 4. I said 4 or 5, and you said, "Oh, this guy doesn't like Zadarius Smith. Everybody, everyone go get him."
Hey, Chris, I already know what I was ready to do for that one. Dave Chappelle. Oh, that's too hot TV.
you look like
and only people who get that one are those that watch the Dave Chappelle pieces. Oh, you just too hot for TV.
I asked Dave to be in my documentary, and he said it was too hot for TV. I did not say that.
Oh, killing me, man.
No, Zadarius was in there. He was getting pressure, and he was playing really well in the run game. That's another thing, is what he brings is what they want too, is a 3-down defensive lineman, a 3-down defensive end who can go out there and he can stretch out the guys to the sideline when they try to run the ball, and he makes different plays in the run game as well as providing pressure.
No diddy.
No diddy.
Lord help us all.
No diddy.
He really does freakishly look like Rasheed Wallace too.
It
really is scary.
The mannerisms too I love it.
Yeah, it is kind of terrifying.
So I always like to go in and ask people as we start to look at winding down a little bit. We got 6 games remaining. So we're looking at the Bears, the Packers, the Bills, the Bears. Then you got 49ers and then the Vikings. 6 games remaining. What do we got here? What are you looking at?
That's like the biggest threat.
The Bills are the only game I can realistically see them lose.
I see worst case. I would like them I would like them to win out ultimately. But if they can swing out of their 4-2 and go 14-3, I think that's gonna lock them down. I think that will be good. It all depends on where if they were to lose a couple of games, where those losses occur against whom, because those would be huge.
I really see the Bills as the only team that could realistically beat this Lions team in the remaining games. And we mentioned it, just going back a little bit to the Zadarius Smith stuff. We mentioned it on the stream for Woodward Sports a couple times about plays where Brian Branch hit Anthony Richardson hard and he just bounced off of it, or someone else, ripped at Anthony Richardson's arms and he still got the pass away. Like, these plays and these pursuits, 99% of NFL quarterbacks are sacked or fumbled in that situation. You just got the one guy who's 6'5", 240 and runs a 4.3. Like, there's not a lot of guys that can get through the kind of pressure that Anthony Richardson was, just because of his sheer athleticism and size. So I think if you're back there as Zadarius Smith and you're trying to get that pressure, and instead of Anthony Richardson out there, it's Caleb Williams or it's Brock Purdy or Bruce Allen or whoever they have playing quarterback for them right now, you'd get that tackle and you'd get that sack.
Yeah, for me, it's the Bills and the divisional games. Like, I completely understand that we are above the Vikings right now and that we beat the Vikings in the place. I understand that the Bears don't look anything remotely close to something that could beat us, but I think we all know just from the years that we were a bad team, those division games, you can get you guys. You know what I'm saying? You can get a good team at least 1 or 2 times, especially when you're that familiar with your opponent. I could see the Bills, obviously that's a tough one, and I think the Bears game following after or leading up to could be a little bit of a trap game just because they do got a good defense that's kind of given us problems over the past couple of years. And obviously we saw what Anthony Richardson can do with his legs. Caleb can run just as well. So not just as well as him, but I'm saying he could run as well. But, maybe on a division game, Bills game, that's about it. We're making the playoffs, and even if we did fall in one of those, I'm not really tripping. We've beaten contending teams. We've beaten teams that are going to be in the playoffs. I don't think it really says anything about our identity other than, like, we're in the NFL, and that's going to happen sometimes,
I'm just looking at the standings, and the Lions have 177 net points, and then the Vikings have 77.
Yeah, the Vikings are frauds. The Vikings are such frauds.
All right. I was going to, it's funny that you say that. So I looked at, the consensus seems to be the Bills and the Packers are probably the two biggest threats remaining. I really don't think if it comes down to it and the Lions need to beat the Vikings for any reason significant on the last game of the season, I think their chance of beating the Lions was ended when they left Minnesota. It's not going to, I don't think it'll happen here at home. I think one of those Chicago games could potentially be a trap because the other thing, because you're playing so close, it's going to be who makes the best adjustment. It doesn't matter who wins the first one. It could easily be a split depending on how they play because one's at home, one's on the road. And then the Bills, like I said, thinking about when these complete packages, I think if Josh Allen throws a lot, Lions have a chance to win, believe it or not. I think the more he does there, if they keep him in short passes and then allow him to use his legs to keep it in short down and distance and to keep them at bay and to keep the linebackers at bay and the safeties at bay, they could be tough. But if they start taking shots down the field, the Lions will take care of the Bills. I really do believe that at home. So this is going to be very interesting. If you don't have your tickets and if you're not glued to the tube watching these last remaining games, these are all going to be good ones. There are no slouches. There are no insignificant games remaining for this team. So I'm excited to see what happens there.
Herman, I have one super quick question for you because, you've been our go-to guy talking about Terry and Arnold. What did you see different without him in the game?
It was interesting because, teams, I don't know if they knew how to attack other than to attack and see what happens. They definitely came in with a game plan to go after Davis, to go after anyone that they felt wasn't the two safeties, and they could get the ball out real quick. If you look at the way they were attacking, they came in knowing Richardson was going to run. They were going to run the quarterback draw. They were going to have some quarterback options. They were going to come out with the quick passes, which we saw very effectively being used because the defensive backs were getting turned a little bit and the safeties weren't really to make plays. The safeties aren't a factor because they're so deep, and then they have to bring them down into the box. And the more they keep bringing them down to the boxes with the short passes, and then you get a short pass plus an effective running game plus a quarterback that can run. Now your play action becomes a play. They were calling play action for Indy, and they had no running game. There's no need to call their play action. You may as well stick with the quick passing game and your quarterback runs. So I don't know. I just the corners are a concern to me. I'm just telling you, the perimeter is a concern. I think they also is a way to bring. And I'll end on this. When your corners are soft or your corners are, I won't say a liability, but not as solid as the rest of your areas, the safeties have to help and overcompensate, or they force you into certain coverages or schemes you don't want to be in that are probably your weaker coverages in your weaker schemes. And that's what the exposure of not having a solid secondary will do to a team like the Lions as they start to face more balanced teams.
Yeah, and what I saw from it was those plays, those missed deep shots or the ones that went over the guys' heads and different things like that. It was blown coverages. With Terry and Arnold, you didn't see blown coverages. You saw him grab, you saw him hold a little bit, but he was always there. He was always with the receiver, and we saw a lot of receivers running free without him out there, and that was something that stood out to me for sure.
He does remind me of Darius Slay when he was a rookie a lot.
Yeah. I just think he's going to be good. I think I really like him. I think he gets handsy in the coverage. I think that's going to come with confidence. But I really believe that the pass rush has got to definitely get home, as Coach Campbell always says. The pressure has to be like what we've seen up front. I think they're going to face better offensive lines. But at the same time, there's just some exposure that has to be worked out there. And hopefully this team gets healthy and doesn't get any more injuries. They can start to bring guys back and not start to have extraction.
I agree. And before we get out of here, you guys got the shirts on. You got the merch on, Sonic and Knuckles. Tell the people where they can get those sweet hoodies or any other Lions Nation Unite merch that they want.
And go to lionsnationunite.com. Until 10 p.m., we've got 10% off for the Sonic and Knuckles line for everybody anybody, but we're only showing it to you guys. And then Herman has the blankets. I actually ordered them for myself, but he's the one that took
the blankets. Are sweet.
I don't have them. The blankets are really sweet. The design looks awesome on the blankets.
I'm hooked those up for some kids. I got some kids that I really want to give those over to and do some stuff. Now, while y'all playing, I was sitting here looking through my cards. You like that? See that? I got some Star Wars. I got those Star Wars cards. I even got Sonic trading cards that my kids had when they were small.
Man. Sonic.
back in the 90s, dude. So I'm gonna pull those out. Yeah, I might even give those away. I might even just start to, give out some of this stuff. I don't know much about this Star Wars stuff. I got a lot of these though. I got a big box of them right there.
Yeah, my cats were named Luke and Leia, so I did know a little
we got
bit.
Pokemon cards too. Sorry, Chris.
Well, Leia just flashed all of us. She's grounded.
Where's Leia?
She gave up. The little ones, though, that are not named after Star Wars are sleeping right down here. So,
all right, I'm just saying.
Have you guys rock the Lions Nation
Leia's
Night,
18 and a half, so she's like, yeah, that's why she flashed. She's just old.
Yeah. Oh yeah, get Gibbs and Montgomery to sign. What'd be cool is if we made some of those up as stretch canvases, like you see behind me, and you can get them small. I can get small ones or the larger ones, and having them signing some of those to hang up would be pretty cool too, because the artwork is really sweet.
Here you go, Herm.
Mm-hmm.
Herman always checks the value of everything. Everything.
They'll tell you. No, if you want me to tell you about Ludix or the Cult Collects or card collectors or all those, I go to all the platforms before I start going, hey, you want one of these cards? Hold on a second. Let me see how much this card is worth. Click. Maybe I got another one for you right there with a bent corner. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No. I give out gems, man. I want anybody to be like, man, Herman's just going through, man, giving us the crap. No, I give out the gem mint 10s and 9s and all that stuff for the collectors, man. We want to make sure they get all that stuff right. So I still got them, Look at that. Bam.
Well, and I will say, Herman brings his cards out when we go to events and we're selling for the foundation and stuff, and he's got it in like this hard black case. Looks like he's bringing some sort of like, special material in, and then everybody really wants your Pokemon cards, Herman. Like they like your cards. I'm actually
willing to give up some of those. I'm actually willing to give up some of the Pokemon cards, especially the ones they have the Japanese
he's got like
writing in the back. I will give out some of those. My kids don't want them, and I know they say some of them might be worth a mint, but it'll be cool. Give them out.
Yeah,
that's what I'll
take. I love Pokemon.
I love fans.
Just saying, yeah. But that'll do it for us today. Appreciate you all tapping in with us. This is the post-game show here on Lions Nation Unite. I'm Spencer. He is Easy. We're the Woodward Heavyweights. CZ, Herman Moore, obviously. It is Lions Nation Unite. Smash the like button. And you see it right there. LNU fam for 10% off at lionsnationunite.com. You can get the hat. You can get the Sonic and Knuckles hoodie. Anything you want. We got great merch, so go check it out. Appreciate y'all tapping in. Smash the like button. We'll see you guys later. Peace.